Okay, so real talk. We took a break. Life happened. Kids got sick. The world kept spiraling, and we looked at each other and said, "What are we doing?" We were cramming way too much into every episode, trying to be history teachers, news anchors, and political scream therapists all at once. So we restructured. We trimmed the fat, sharpened the edge, and got way more intentional with what we're doing. Fewer topics per episode, more fire. We're still pissed. We're still paying attention, and we're going to break this all down like two moms who have had it up to here with the lies, the gaslighting, and the fascist bullshit. And possibly a few more explicit words for our politicians.
Yeah, I already told Chelsey one change of moving forward. I wanted to be a little bit more explicit for sure. Because that kind of is more in line with our natural speaking words for sure. It's a new format, but the same righteous rage that we always have. We changed it a little bit so that each of the episodes are built around one theme or a what the actual hell moment. So sometimes we'll dig into history to explain how we ended up in this mess, and then other weeks we'll look into whatever fresh dumpster fire Congress has cooked up for us. We also have decided to incorporate some new fun segments like letters we wish we could send, mystery soundbite, fact or fiction, and a little Mad Lib chaos. We are not experts. We are not influencers. We're just two moms who are trying to raise decent humans in a country that feels like it's being run by a group chat full of drunk white dudes with daddy issues and no boundaries. Welcome back to Moms Against the Machine. Let's get into it.
I'm Chelsey. I've got two kids, a massive caffeine addiction, and a bookshelf full of banned books. I homeschool for now, for one more month. I protest. I fact check for fun, and I believe rage is a form of hope when it's pointed in the right direction. I grew up inside the conservative bubble, and I clawed my way out with a baby on my hip and a whole lot of questions that they never wanted me to ask. Now I use my voice to say all the quiet parts out loud because someone has to.
And I'm Jen. I have 3 kids. 1 is in college, and 2, we are still navigating the chaos of public school. I have been parenting long enough to know exactly what is at stake. I've seen school boards blow up over bullshit, watched healthcare disappear overnight, and I've seen politicians throw regular people under the bus to chase headlines and campaign checks. I am not here to be polite. I am here because I have learned the hard way. If you do not push back, they will bulldoze right over you and call it a mandate. So I didn't ask, by the way, to become an expert in policy, education, or local government, but here we are. I pay attention. I say the thing. I ask the hard questions. And when they try to ignore us, I will continue to make damn sure that they don't. And we also decided to add in a female of the week. That was a new segment we didn't really touch on that we were going to add.
Yeah, the female of the week. Today we're also going to do an Am I That Asshole?
Yes, am I the asshole? So I made coloring pages for Chelsey that are, say, like Lance Gooden is trash, and yeah, Lance Gooden sucks. Lance Gooden hates America. And Chelsey colored it. Yes, I love it.
I colored it with my baby today. Isn't he cute?
So yeah, I think I have a calling to do more of those.
Oh, for sure. I think that'll be a good campaign race.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about the NIH, incredible female scientist, and what RFK Jr. has decided to do to the Health and Human Services Department.
Yep.
Sorry, I just started thinking, my brain spiraled. I did the ADHD spiral where I went from RFK Jr. to Health and Human Services to wellness camps to the fact that we just built a concentration camp in Florida, and my brain got really heavy really fast.
Yeah. It's insane.
I mean, literally looking at the pictures of Auschwitz versus Alcatraz has had me just reeling, just constantly. Like, there's just like a little section of my brain back here that's just replaying those.
No, did you see my story? Did you see my story I posted?
Yeah, but I also saw a TikTok last night that compared the bathrooms, that compared the bunks, that compared the chain link fence. Like, I mean, they didn't have the chain link fence then, but they had like the fence in the same place. And on the outside of Auschwitz, it says like work will set you free or something similar to that, because it was a work camp. And I think they keep saying the same thing about alligator Alcatraz, Auschwitz.
Terrible.
The fact that they're selling merch to it
Yeah, that is
Has me like
disgusting.
wanting to cry.
And had food trucks going out there.
Yeah. Elote
Like,
and churro food trucks.
I
And then
know.
Laura Loomer with her 65 million
No,
comment.
that was uncalled for.
She's been making a lot of nasty comments about Auschwitz.
She's the worst.
And I'm sorry, alligator Auschwitz. So I will not be calling it anything other than that because that is exactly what it is.
Yeah,
and of course, it's in the Everglades, which, as we all know, the Everglades was really big for a lot of the civil rights court cases where they were lynching people, and they were just, there was a lot of stuff out in that area, and they can disappear somebody very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm scared. I'm nervous. I don't know what to do to stop it, and I don't want to be one of the people that looks away. But at the same time, even if I look at it, like, what can I do?
There's not a lot we can do except bring it to light and tell, call our people, say this is not okay.
Okay, but our people are fully endorsing it.
I know.
So it's just, yeah, I'm reeling.
Vote these assholes out.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we have like a year and a half.
I don't even know how we're going to survive a year and a half of this because this is just
if
awful.
We even have elections for our midterms.
That's what I was saying too. I don't want to get doom and gloom today. Let's not do that.
Okay. I mean, we're going to get doom and gloom once we start talking about HHS, right?
I know. Yeah. It gets very dark very quick.
I have a whole segment to go along with that. My personal struggles with All right, Jen, it's time for one of my favorite new additions to the show, which is honestly all of them at this point. Woman of the Week. Every episode, we highlight a woman who's not just talking the talk, but actually out there making shit happen. This week, we've got someone who's juggling all the chaos of being a new mom and a lawmaker and doing both with serious grit. I can't wait for you to hear about it.
I'm sorry, could you just briefly restate your question there? I apologize.
Yes, I'm going to do this the best I can with with Sam here. That with our having to address inflation, as we've started to see it, you were able to decrease the rates. We were starting to go down a little bit. We were seeing that our economy was finally in a solid place. Prices were starting to go down. And now with the economic uncertainty, we're starting to see that you had to hold steady, whereas everyone was projecting before this administration came in with these changes that it was going to continue to go down. Can you talk about why you have had to choose to hold steady on the interest rates?
So we just, we stick to what we're assigned to do, which is maximum employment and price stability. We don't have opinions on fiscal policy or trade policy or immigration policy or any one of another, or regulation policy, other than that we have our regulatory responsibilities. And so we take what comes as it comes. And, elected politicians do what they do, and we don't criticize that. We don't have opinions about
Gentleman's time has expired, and the gentleladies.
Thank you, and thank you, Sam.
So Sam, I love how you thanked Sam, her son, because you couldn't really see, but in the video he grabs the microphone.
Yeah,
but
you can hear it.
Yeah, we're gonna link it in the podcast. You'll be able to see it. She is a badass. So she is a representative for Colorado's 7th district and a major system disruptor. She showed up to Congress with a 4-week-old baby on her hip and said she was still voting. What is your excuse, basically? So she had to go down to Washington because they have antiquated rules where the House does not allow proxy voting to new parents. There's no parental leave. If you do not show up in person to vote, you burn your vote. So, like a baddie, she showed up with her newborn and voted on the floor with her baby in her arms. But then right after, she also co-sponsored legislation to help fix the archaic rules that allow proxy voting for up to 12 weeks for new parents. But I'm like,
Mike Johnson struck it down too.
It
after
still passed
using it for COVID.
It still passed though. Remember, he got
No,
mad.
it didn't.
Are you sure?
It was going to pass. Then he shut down Congress for like a week.
Yeah, but I thought it passed and he got mad. That's why he shut down Congress.
No,
because
they
it
shut
passed
it down.
through.
I don't think it passed the next
And he said it was he thought it was a way for people to cheat, like cheat the system, because they were going to use the proxy voting to cheat. But nonetheless, the fact that that's not already an option and that this is somehow controversial is ridiculous to me. But also, it's not even about her in that one vote and her having to go to vote on that one thing. It is not performative for her. She has been out there fighting for paid family leave, writing bills on gun reform, comprehensive sex education for her state of Colorado, regulations for oil and gas, stood on the House floor, diaper bag and all, during procedural fights. She showed up with her baby literally again last week. Like, Sam is growing up in Congress. She's literally not doing it for viral clips and headlines. She's doing it because nobody else would, and because moms belong in every single room where decisions are being made, period.
Yes.
So, Brittany, we see you, we salute you, and we are so glad that you are on the floor in the trenches fighting for us. You are our woman of the week. May your pillow always be cold, your shoes always feel good on your feet, and your baby always take good naps.
That was a highlight of like my past
Love
couple weeks. But yeah, I was silenced as a child until I was like 30. I'm 31 now. Like, I was silenced up until I was like, you know what? Screw all of you. Like, I'm not going to be doing this. And I refuse to have children that think that they were silenced as a child. They're going to grow up with their strong opinions, and you're going to have a space for your opinions. Like, you are part of our household. We love you so very much. I mean, the part of our household will be like within boundaries, but at the same time,
as they
like,
get
there's plenty of
as
stuff.
they get older, you have to navigate that because sometimes they want things that are not safe for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't just rule your house with an iron thumb, because that is not how the world works, and that's not how we want our democracy to work. That's not how a household should run.
No, not at all. So I think she's awesome for literally bringing her child to the fight, because
her son is going to be so involved because it's going to be all he knows. But yeah, she's a baddie, and we want to shout her out. Brittany Peterson.
Yay.
Holla, girl.
All right. So now that we've talked about Brittany Peterson, let's talk about some other incredible women. Let's talk about the National Institutes of Health. The National Institutes of Health is a big federal research campus just outside of DC in Bethesda, Maryland, where real science happens. There are a couple facilities outside of Bethesda that they do a lot of research and stuff in. I've talked to Jen about it in depth because I grew up in that area. And my aunt was a grant specialist for grant funding in NIH, and she worked there for over 40 years. Joe Biden signed her retirement certification. She actually waited until Trump was out of office to retire, so that way she didn't have Trump's signature on it. So in DC, real science happens there. We see medical breakthroughs, bad government policy occasionally gets steamrolled by someone in a lab coat or dolled up in an office who actually knows what they're doing. The NIH started way back in 1887 as a one-room lab under what was then called the Marine Hospital Service, basically early CDC, except for sailors. And Congress told them to start inspecting incoming ships for diseases like cholera and yellow fever. Congress didn't really care about the sailors, obviously. They don't really care about any of us. But they did not want an epidemic to ruin their economy. Not kill people, but they were worried about their economy. So fast forward through the early 1900s. Rickets, scurvy, venereal diseases, STDs helped build the federal research grant system. And then eventually cancer, narcotics, and vaccine work all entered the chat. Somewhere along the way, the hygienic lab became the National Institute of Health, singular at first, and then eventually the NIH we know today. But for decades, women weren't allowed to research, not until trailblazers forced their way in. Fun fact, the Marine Public, like that one-room laboratory, was started in like 1887. And it wasn't until the 1990s that women's health became a department. The 1990s, Jen.
That's crazy.
They've only been studying women like since the 1990s, and now we have an entire ban on words like women.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say they barely even have enough to have real longitudinal studies, and they're now banned.
Yeah. Like, I could have been significantly helped if there was a women's health studies, like, 50 years before I was born? But no, it started when I was born. And the only thing that they will tell you with endometriosis is, oh, just take birth control. And it doesn't help. But when you have a kid, it'll help because it'll go away for like a year. And then it comes back stronger.
I was about to say McKenna is getting checked for endometriosis because,
it sucks.
She's not getting any relief with her IUD. So
even starving the hormones, it doesn't do much for it.
Yeah.
So I have 3 scientists to go over, and we'll try to go super duper quick. Our first one is Dr. Ida Bangston. She was born in 1881 in Harvard, Nebraska, to Swedish immigrants. Hey, immigration, our first female scientist. Ida's original plan had nothing to do with science. She graduated with a degree in math and languages and worked for the U.S. Geological Survey cataloging books. But a friend nudged her toward science, and Ida didn't hesitate. She went back to school, earned an MS and a PhD in bacteriology from the University of Chicago, and walked straight into history. In 1916, Ida became the first woman scientist hired by the Public Health Service's Hygienic Laboratory. It's what we now call NIH. 1 year later, she made a breakthrough that saved lives. She traced a tetanus outbreak to contaminated vaccine scarifiers. Nobody else had caught
What's
it.
a scarifier?
I don't know.
Oh. I was like, that sounds scary.
It does.
I want to look it up.
I think it's like equipment
It
that they
sounds
used.
very scary. A scarifier.
I think it was just something that wasn't cleaned properly.
Oh, let me see. Oh, like a blade?
Yeah, I think so,
Okay.
something.
It says a scarifier is a tool with blades or tines used for removing thatch and moss. So yeah, that's a funny name though, a scarifier.
Scarifier, yeah.
It
I was like, I know it's a tool, but I don't know what the tool does. It just wasn't cleaned properly.
I have to know what things are, so I was like, okay, so
No, you're good.
unclean tool.
That's a
Moving
solid
on.
question. Nobody else had caught it, though. This wasn't just a scientific footnote. It was a full-on public health crisis, and she shut it down. So she did not stop with the tetanus. She helped develop early vaccines for typhus, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and Q fever. She created the complement fixation test, still used today to diagnose and differentiate between typhus strains and spotted fevers. Ida worked in the NIH typhus unit. She contracted typhus herself during the research, but she kept going. She also identified a new form of botulism, type C, and proved it caused a rare kind of infantile paralysis. While doing all of that, she was sent to Rolla, Missouri in 1924 to lead a massive study on trachoma, a contagious eye disease that can cause blindness. Ida set up a full clinical and lab operation in a hospital and in the basement of Missouri S&T. She treated over 1,500 patients, and her work led to the creation of Rolla Trachoma Hospital, one of only 4 in the entire country at the time. But she didn't care about fame. She didn't care about she didn't care about facts. She cared about facts. And even when her male peers got more credit, she still stayed in the lab. She stayed doing the work, and she stayed changing the course of American medicine. And while
Dude, she's amazing.
I know, and while I don't talk about it on this one, what pisses me off so bad, DNA, like the structure of DNA, was founded, and I don't, what's the word for diagram? Like she literally drew the diagram of the double helix in DNA and everything, like years earlier than the two that have discovered it. They took credit for her work, and she was still more advanced than they were when they discovered it.
Ida?
No, the person that did the DNA.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like,
I thought you were saying
these women, they did not get credit for
the credit they deserve. Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah. And it's like this, it's really bad in the NIH. I mean, like as a public institute from early on, it was very
in STEM. Because I already know. Like McKenna was even now, even in 2025, the year of our Lord, 2025, a lot of these boys and young men in this these engineering classes were Charlie Kirk type-esque, very macho men that want to put women down, that think women are stupid and inferior. And they treat them as such in any setting and treat them as like objects.
100%.
Yeah. So that's part of also why she didn't want to go into that field anymore, because there was just so much misogyny. It was just so rampant there.
Yeah, it's still bad. It is still very bad.
Yeah.
Way worse.
I mean, we've come leaps and bounds. That's what's sad, is it's still terrible.
So next up, we have Dr. Ruth Kirstein. If Ida was the builder, Ruth was the architect. Dr. Ruth Kirstein was a medical doctor and a pathologist who joined the NIH in 1955, back when the Boys Club at federal agencies didn't even pretend to hide its bias. She cut her teeth at the FDA, where she helped test the safety of the Sabin oral polio vaccine. At the time, public trust in vaccines was shaky at best, similar to today, and Ruth's rigorous testing helped build it back. She was so respected and so trusted that in 1974, when we also gained the right to divorce our husbands, she became the first woman to lead any NIH institute, taking the reins at the National Institute of General Medical Sciences. She ran that ship for nearly 20 years. But what set Ruth apart wasn't just her leadership, it was how she mentored others. She helped create and expand training programs for early career researchers, especially women and underrepresented scientists, and those programs are still running today under her name, the Kirstein NRSA Fellowships. When NIH was in crisis, Ruth stepped up. Twice she served as acting NIH director in 1993 and again from 2000 to 2002, navigating controversy, public scrutiny, and internal politics. She fought for transparency, ethics, and science that actually served the public. She passed away in 2009, but her name literally is stitched into the next generation of scientists. Every NRSA fellow knows who Ruth Kirstein is, even if they don't know the full story that they should. I wanted to ask you, Jen, what has the NIH done in your lifetime that you're aware of? What big outbreaks?
Ebola, the COVID, the other one that was from like it was a yes, H1N1 was when McKenna was a baby. But then there was also another, I think it was a bird flu that came from China. Okay, there was swine flu, there was H1N1, but there was another flu or some kind of respiratory illness that came from China that wasn't a pandemic. That was probably when you were a kid. I was maybe a teenager.
It was really big when I was a kid. When I was a teenager, swine flu shut down our school for an entire week. And
Yeah,
they thoroughly cleaned the gym equipment for the first time ever.
Was that in 2005?
2009. I remember swine flu 09.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. McKenna had swine flu in 09 because I was engaged to Clint. We were in Denver. We went to the Denver Children's Museum with McKenna and we flew in a plane home and she got sick and it was right before our engagement photos and she had the swine flu during our engagement photos.
It is awful. I think a big thing that people don't realize either, anthrax. The anthrax.
God,
like, you remember
anthrax
when they were sending it to
scare.
the government buildings and stuff?
They were mailing anthrax. Yeah, I forgot about that.
We worked there the entire time. All of those happened.
I don't even really associate the NIH with all of those big scares. I more associate the NIH with just like the framework for care, medical care, and overall healthcare for the American people, right? Like researching how to make the American people better in general.
Anything that's going to make you sick, anything that's effective.
Yeah.
They dealt with botulism like crazy. So what I don't think a lot of people realize is they had like a factory. I don't know if this was real or not.
SARS. That's what it was. SARS.
Yeah, SARS. Yes.
Like a respiratory.
But it was when Bush was president. They were saying that there was a botulism factory in the Middle East that they had to get rid of because they were going to send it to the U.S. and make everybody sick. I don't know if you remember that, but botulism became a really big thing. So yeah, all of the infective stuff. But my aunt worked for pretty much everything. She's worked in neurology. Her most stressful one was allergy and infectious disease, which she worked under Fauci. He was like the lead scientist in her department when she worked there.
Oh.
And I know I've told you that before, but always have to throw that out there because everybody likes to hate on Fauci, and that's not propaganda I'm going to fall for, especially when my aunt worked specifically underneath of him. And then she worked in like children's health. She worked in alternative medicine. The children's health one was her last because it was like children's and reproductive health. And so she would always send me like the NIH studies that were coming through on the public websites. I didn't get intel from like behind, but just about endometriosis. So she would send me all of that stuff. But when she worked in alternative medicine, they let her go do yoga.
I love that.
They did a lot of like other stuff. Like they experimented on themselves in
That's
alternative
great.
medicine.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. Finally, we have Alice Catherine Evans, microbiology's unsung matriarch, and RFK Jr.'s worst nightmare. Born in 1881 in Pennsylvania, Alice started off as a school teacher because, like most women then, that was the job. But when she discovered a scholarship for teachers at Cornell, she took a chance and earned a degree in agriculture. She followed that with a master's in bacteriology at Wisconsin and could have gone for the PhD, but money and exhaustion made her walk away. She didn't need the degree, though. Her science would speak for itself. Alice started out the USDA dairy division studying milk bacteria. Eventually, she proved that Brucella abortus, the bacteria found in cow's milk, caused brucellosis in humans. At the time, that disease was called undulant fever, or Malta fever, and no one in power wanted to believe a woman without a PhD could crack the case. The dairy industry tried to bury her. So did top male scientists, of course, especially Theobald Smith, who openly dismissed her findings even after other labs had already confirmed them.
Fuck you, Theobald Smith.
Yes. What?
I already hate him.
So she held the line. Her work helped establish milk pasteurization as a public health standard. It gave us the term brucellosis. It created an entire bacterial genus, and it changed everything. In 1922, she contracted brucellosis herself and dealt with chronic symptoms for 2 decades, and the doctors still didn't believe her. So they said it was psychosomatic.
Of course they did.
Sorry, I just had to stop with that one because women aren't allowed to have problems. Until a surgery in 1928 proved otherwise. Even then, she turned into science, advocating for better recognition of chronic bacterial illness using her own body as evidence. In 1928, she became the first woman elected president of the Society of American Bacteriologists. She kept doing research, mentoring, and fighting for equal recognition until she retired in 1945. And even then, she didn't stop. Fighting a Medicare loyalty oath in the 60s because it violated free speech because she was a communist. I didn't put that in here, but she was a communist and she didn't want to have to list her political party. And so she was like, this violates my free speech that I even have to put this in here. And she won the case. So
Love that.
yeah, Alice's career helped shape microbiology, vaccine science, food safety, and women's inclusion in federal research. Her legacy is literally immortalized in Edgar art tributes and in the scientists she inspired, like Rebecca Lansfield and Rita Caldwell, both future ASM presidents. But let's not pretend her road was smooth. She was dismissed, underpaid, blocked from promotions, and forced to prove things twice as hard for half the recognition. But she did it anyway. So that's pretty much the end for me. These women aren't just history. They're a warning for all of us, a reminder of how easily science gets erased when politics takes the wheel.
Yeah.
And they're a blueprint for what it looks like to lead with integrity, to get your hands dirty, and to hold the damn line. So NIH was not built by politicians. It was built by people like Ida, Ruth, and Alice, women who refused to be underestimated, even when the institutions they worked for barely acknowledged their resistance. That too, but their existence.
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 Nope. Yep.
You know, I'm going to keep the resistance in there too, because that's also what they did. So if we're not careful, the very people trying to defund science, rewrite history, and roll back public health will succeed in erasing everything that they stood for, and it will not be on our watch.
Not on our watch.
Okay. Random segment generator time. And we're going to do a random generator and figure out what we're doing.
Whoop.
Okay, what do we lean on? Fact or fiction?
Fact or fiction. Here we go.
Okay. Lauren Boebert gave a sermon at her church comparing drag queens to demons with devil butts.
That has to be fact.
That's a fiction one. But it's something that feels real from her.
It's something she would totally do.
Absolutely. So Kristi Noem admitted in her memoir to killing her puppy because it was untrainable.
I mean, I know there was something with her dog for sure in the memoir. So I'll say true.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Okay,
She admitted it, no going back and doubled down on live TV, and it just...
I mean, I knew that she
she's a
did
terrible
something about
person.
she's an animal abuser. I knew there was something about that in her memoir.
Greg Abbott proposed using drones to patrol school hallways.
Fiction.
Yes. It's hard to guess, isn't it?
Saying kids would be like swatting at them.
No, but he has backed school guardians with guns, which
What?
we know.
Fuck.
Yeah.
No, I did not know about that. Because we always, in our schools, we had watchdog dads. So it's literally just dads. Like, there's no pew-pews involved. It's just dads walking around.
You'll like this one. Ron DeSantis banned AP psychology in Florida public schools. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
Yep, in 2023 because the curriculum included gender and sexuality.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're like they hate science. So
yeah. Samuel Alito claimed a neighbor hung an upside down flag on his property to frame him.
Fiction.
Yeah, but he did blame his wife.
What?
It was a white supremacist flag. All right, you ready for the last one?
Yes, I'm ready for the last one.
All right. Fact or fiction? Lance Gooden called protesters losers and weird after being refused a handshake.
That is absolutely fact. I heard it with my own mouth.
Oh my gosh. Is it because I refused him the handshake
Yeah,
and he called
you.
me a loser?
He refused to shake Chelsea's hand. So he went on the internet afterward and called her a weird loser.
Yes.
But he also told her she was un-American. And
he told all of us we were un-American.
We were un-American. We were a disgrace.
Yeah.
And
I'm a transgender agenda nut as well.
Yes. My segment we're going to call What in the Fresh Hell is Going On? in case you are not someone who watches current events and keeps up with the news all the time, and there's a lot that's been happening. I mean, it is just so much is happening at such a rapid pace. It is very hard to keep up. RFK Jr. is our current Health and Human Services Secretary. He was confirmed on February 13th, but it was pretty controversial. He had several hearings where he was hit with a barrage of questions about many of his controversies, and some of it was with vaccine lawsuits that he's had, that and how he was profiting off of lawsuits off vaccines when he was set to run a department that is over the CDC. Conflict of interest much. So anyway, they just wanted some clarity on that. But again, I just wanted to know, if you don't know a lot about RFK Jr., you don't follow politics, you just heard of him, or you just know, oh, he's related, he's in the Kennedy family, he's related to a Kennedy, or whatever you know about him. I just wanted to go over the more controversial things that he is known for. So I'm just going to highlight them as briefly as possible. So in 2023, he suggested that COVID was designed to spare Jews and Chinese people. So he specifically said that it might have been engineered as a bioweapon to disproportionately harm Caucasians and Black people, and was sparing Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people. And it has been basically found without any evidence to be truthful at all.
Okay,
And
well, my Ashkenazi Jewish stepmother has had COVID. So,
she has.
yeah, she has.
Okay, well then there we go. Throws his whole thing out the window. Also, he said that he's put forth multiple conspiracy theories about the assassination of JFK. He said the CIA was involved. He has also suggested that school shootings were linked with antidepressants. So he has said that antidepressants can contribute to school shootings, which has also been harmful and very unproven. He promoted disinformation about vaccines causing autism, which we all know has been disproven in the scientific community for decades, but it's continuing to be spread among anti-vaxxers in this community. It makes me insane. He's also peddled that that HIV does not cause AIDS. So he's peddled AIDS denialism and other conspiracy theories about AIDS. Conveniently, which I will cover in a little bit, there's a bunch of programs related to AIDS and HIVs that are magically cut. So that's interesting.
Which is wild.
Yeah. He says that fluoride causes diseases. The fluoride that's in our drinking water that has been proven to be safe.
Have you seen his teeth?
Yes. Yes. He believes that the 2004 presidential election was stolen from John Kerry. He blames gender dysphoria on chemicals in the environment. So he has suggested that chemicals are responsible for the rise in gender dysphoria, literally.
Even though it's literally just been masked for decades because it's not safe for people to come out.
Yeah. And again, I just want to reiterate that this is all before he was confirmed. But since taking over in February, he has overseen radical changes. Experts have warned that he is putting public health at a very serious risk. Approximately 20,000 jobs have been cut across HHS agencies, including the CDC, the NIH, and the FDA. They've slashed about 15% of their workforce in critical areas. These layoffs have shuttered labs, delayed disease surveillance, and disrupted vaccine research. A federal judge did rule that the cuts likely violate laws designed to protect public health. But again, whenever judges step in with research, it's not that easy to just restart everything. But amid this huge upheaval, the measles outbreak happened. If we all remember, measles are up 150%. Yeah, still going 150% from last year. And despite that, he's claiming that it's mostly media hype, and has suggested after the point that they had already said that kids were hospitalized for it, that natural immunity might be preferable to vaccine. And only after further push did he say, actually, the vaccine is safe and the best treatment. Insanity. But yeah, this is the man who's in charge. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Luis Fernandez said Downplaying a measles outbreak is reckless. Vaccines are the only proven way to prevent outbreaks. Spreading doubt only fuels hesitancy and puts vulnerable populations at risk. Again, like I said, the most important person in that position, in that department, is saying that this is not safe.
Yeah.
You're in charge, dude. Like, what is going on? Okay, so let's move on to the Make America Healthy Again report. So, girl, I know, bite your tongue. It's so cringy. Like, I'm so embarrassed I have secondhand embarrassment so bad. They literally chat GPT'd make a lit review that fits our narrative. And of course it can't fit their narrative because their narrative is fake and doesn't exist and it's bullshit. Yeah. But anyway, he had the Make America Healthy Again that had, it had fake studies promoting disproven vaccine autism links and pushed misinformation about environmental toxins and gender ideology. So epidemiologist Dr. Priya Malhotra described the Maha report as a mix of misinformation and cherry-picked data that can mislead policymakers and the public alike. It's dangerous to see such a flawed document coming from the nation's top health agency. Since that time, he has continued to make statements stirring controversy. So besides the dismissing of the measles outbreaks, he also reshuffled the advisory panels for vaccine experts and replaced them with people who are at least vaccine skeptics. Maybe not full anti-vaxxers, but vaccine skeptics, because now they're putting forth information that certain vaccines may not be safe, which has not actually ever been scientifically shown. So they're just basically promoting disinformation.
Some of them have increased risk, and we know that as well.
Of
but
course.
They're able to modify stuff to decrease the risk. And if you're not at risk, it's not something that you necessarily need to get until it is safer.
Exactly. And so Dr. Jonathan Kim is a former CDC official, and he warned when scientific expertise is sidelined for ideology, public health suffers. This is not just about policy, it's about lives. So in short, his tenure has been defined by the cuts, the chaos, and the spreading of misinformation at a time when public health demands clarity and expertise. This fallout is already visible with preventable diseases resurging and scientific voices pushed to the sidelines. So shortly after his confirmation, Dr. Francine Collins was the director of the NIH. He announced his retirement. So he is the physician geneticist who is best known for leading the Human Genome Project, and he guided the NIH through the COVID-19 vaccine development. He served under 3 presidents, and he shaped decades of biomedical research. But his exit came right after RFK was confirmed. Within 2 weeks, he had a interview with 60 Minutes. He described the situation as untenable, citing restrictions on research freedom and a stifling environment for scientific inquiry. So that sounds sad.
I'll tell you, there are a lot of people that stuck out
Depressing.
Trump's first term that may not have been able to retire, but were close to retiring. It ended up because Biden was elected. They were like, okay, we'll stick it out. But like they saw him running. They're like, there's a good chance that he's going to win. So they stayed. They made it through Biden's presidency. Things started getting back to normal. And then when Trump was elected again, they like slowly just started retiring. The executive orders came in. It was a mass exodus from the NIH. My aunt had a lot of friends that just retired. They're still thinking about retiring. They're putting in their paperwork because she retired again during Biden's term. And they've been reaching out to her like, okay, how do I do this? I'm ready to go now.
Yeah, like, I gotta get out of here.
I gotta go. Especially after the terminology, it halts research, halts inquiries coming in. It halts all of the funding. It's very damaging what he did because he did that during his first term too. I don't know if you remember that, but he gave them another list of banned words. And then this one was more trans oriented than the previous ones. But his first term, he did the same thing, and it was awful. But I think he did it during COVID, so he waited a couple years to do it.
Oh, so he waited till the end.
But this one was an immediate, just like no more women are allowed to have research about their bodies.
Yeah. Well, Collins leaves behind a legacy of groundbreaking discovery, but also a warning about the challenges that science will face going forward under this new leadership, especially because RFK is at the helm and he essentially doesn't believe in science.
Yeah.
Collins also called it absurd to refer to, I don't know if you've looked at the page, but part of their mandate, it says that they are going to establish a gold standard in scientific research, as if it's somehow not
Already a gold standard.
Yeah.
Like the NIH is
So,
one of the best research
he
facilities
said,
in the world.
we're all in favor of a gold standard for science, but it's misleading and even a little insulting to say that somehow
It's not.
NIH didn't already support that. No, it's not kind of insulting. It's fucking insulting.
Yeah, that is extremely insulting.
Everything that the NIH stands for is rigor in science. That's the bottom line. Yes, science makes mistakes, but the scientific process is self-correcting. There's some implication here that the NIH has been systematically sloppy, and I reject that conclusion.
Yes.
As I would too. Yeah, exactly.
It's not. They have so many standards and so many like steps that they have to take. It is brutal and rigorous.
Yes.
For
and
all sides.
He added that the rhetoric being put forward about gold standards seems more like politics than science. And you know what happens when you mix
politics.
Science and politics?
It doesn't go well.
Just get politics.
Yeah, you 100% you do.
Mm-hmm. So when he testified before Congress recently about the 2026 budget proposal, I watched 3 hours of the nonsense. It was 3 hours.
I'm so sorry. I am so
ridiculous.
sorry.
Yeah, I watched all 3 hours of it. Essentially, he wouldn't answer anything. He was so evasive. He would just say, I don't know, like with his voice. I feel bad making fun of him because I know he has a condition.
Okay, but
I mean,
it's like Greg Abbott with the Hot Wheels thing. Like, it's really on his car.
But Representative Robin Kelly asked him about a huge policy shift at the CDC that he didn't consult with anybody at the CDC. And
how do you do that?
He just said, yeah, we made that. Yeah, that was my decision.
They even delayed the flu virus. He didn't go to the, Okay, anyways,
go
ahead.
Rep. Kim Schreier is a pediatrician, which I didn't even know who she is, but she's a pediatrician. She's a rep. She asked him about the changes that he's made to the childhood vaccine schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I had no answers. Just basically said it was not based on any kind of scientific data or evidence.
I have a lot to say about that once we get to our little crystal ball section.
Okay. Also, under oath, he admitted that he had not fact-checked that vaccine schedule document or fact-checked any of the MAHA document. He admitted under oath he hadn't fact-checked any of those things. Bro, you were in charge. You were supposed to rubber stamp anything that's coming from you. That is rubber stamped by you. You didn't even look at it. You didn't check. That's embarrassing.
I'm trying really hard not to scream into the microphone.
That's
let's gonna listen.
Embarrassing. That is embarrassing, dude. You were an embarrassment. You were so bad at your job. I want to give you a 0, but I cannot. So I give you a 1. That viral sound. That's what he deserves a 0 at his job. 0
negative
stars. Yes.
Negative stars.
So, continuing on, Rep. Troy Carter asked him about cuts to HIV research and prevention. According to the Association of American Medical Colleges, 160 active clinical trials were terminated in 2025. 160 active clinical trials.
Well, you remember that one mom that we talked to as well at our empty chair town hall, and they're like, "Oh, we're cutting 70 or 57% of the programs."
Her son's stuff. Yes, I think about her a lot. So more than a third of those were related to HIV and AIDS. So he said it didn't happen, and then he tried to claim that he wasn't aware. That didn't happen. We haven't made cuts to that.
$80 billion with AOC.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, when he was asked about the slash Alzheimer's funding, that 13 out of 35 Alzheimer's research centers have lost their federal support. He had no clue, didn't know, played dumb. What do you know, guy? Do you know anything? What do you know?
He doesn't.
I know. The answer is no. So he also was questioned about the $1 billion cut to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration budget right in the middle of an opioid crisis.
I'm sorry. I'm
And
sorry. We've had how many pieces of legislation about fentanyl, and we're gonna cut
yeah.
opioid funding?
No,
What?
and on top of that,
What?
a majority. I saw one of I think the guy, the representative who questioned him about it, even mentioned that so many of our veterans rely on those services. So it is cruel. It is heartless.
Well,
It is
a lot of them
horrible.
were test subjects for opioids before they knew
Mhm.
that it was an issue.
Before they knew, yep. So he he lies. He lies through his teeth. He denies. And then he was also grilled about the rural hospital closures. He denied that too. But then he claimed that he sent a letter to every hospital in America. I don't but he literally said that in the congressional hearing. He said, I sent a letter to every hospital in America. Like, saying what, sir?
That you're gonna
saying
shut down for
what?
Medicaid cuts?
No, I think he was saying basically that y'all aren't going to have to shut down. But how are they going to keep running if they don't have the funding? Do you understand how this works, guy? You can't just say oh, just stay
You
open
can't
because I
cut a
tell you to
trillion.
stay open.
You cannot cut over $1
Yeah.
trillion from an
Uh-uh.
entire system and expect it to stay running.
Yeah.
Like the
Exactly.
administrative costs, the hospitals, paying the doctors, you cannot keep it
But
going.
isn't that so fucking laughable? I sent a letter to every hospital in America. How on brand for the Trump administration is that comment?
Very.
They always say the most outlandish shit. Like, I sent a letter.
I'll send it in 2 weeks.
Yeah. In about 2 weeks, I'm going to send that
In about
letter.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We'll see in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. But for real though, it was 3 hours of a waste of my time, of everybody's time, because no questions were answered. He deflected everything and essentially did not admit to any of the stuff that's going to happen, that's coming through. That's terrible. But yeah, so whenever Francis Collins was talking about the slow and brutal dismantling of our scientific infrastructure, it's sad, it's scary, and we don't know the damage that's being done. It's irreparable, and we just have no way of knowing the reaches that it's going to have on the scientific community.
I mean, as I just told you, it's been over 100 years.
Yeah.
It's almost 140 years at this point that it's taken to get to the point that we are today, even with the setbacks from the first Trump presidency, and it's so much worse.
I know. And I mean, it's that chainsaw methodology of just going in and blindly removing things without peer reviews or expert evaluation. So many of these NIH grants were targeted by simple keyword searches. No context, no nuance, no oversight committees. Literally, yeah, I thought about transgenic mice. Bureaucrats combing proposals for so-called, that's the transgenic DEI language, and just hitting delete. So there is no oversight at all.
No.
At the NIH, scientists already face brutal odds. I don't know if you know this, Chelsey touched on it, but like I said, the gold standard thing, it's true. Only about 1 in 5 grant proposals ever get approved. The cuts to these departments are devastating. Researchers spend years assembling their proposals, coordinating with labs, clinicians, community partners, pouring unpaid time, energy, countless hours just for a shot at moving science forward. And for many of them, getting this grant is a career-defining moment. Now it's all unraveling. And I looked at this article from ProPublica. It said that more than 300 of the grants that were terminated by the NIH focused on LGBTQI plus health. So some of these studies were about work amid the mental health crisis. So among LGBTQI plus, Dr. Brittany Charlton at Harvard had a paper that was almost ready for publication. It showed that lesbian women are almost 3 times as likely to have stillbirths compared to their heterosexual peers. And that paper may not get to be published just because of the terminology in it.
Yeah, but also I wonder why.
I want to go read the study.
I want to read that too.
When I was doing the research, I was like, I want to know why. Like, what is it? Is it that the care isn't as? I really don't know. Is it the stress, the mental load? I don't know. Dr. Sarah Goff at UMass Amherst was studying how to improve mental health care delivery to LGBTQIA plus youth. She said, I'm afraid for what these messages will do to the mental health of youth who are told they don't matter or for some reason that they don't even exist. Christy Clark at Vanderbilt broke down in tears when she learned about her suicide prevention study. Suicide prevention study for LGBTQIA plus preteens was terminated. She said, the evidence that we would have gained from this work will not exist. So it's not just the LGBTQIA plus research. Duke University also lost 28 approved grants for nearly $100 million in lost funding. One of the grants was studying a disability linked to osteoarthritis. Another explored neural circuits, but it got cut because it contained the word trans in the abstract. Duke also had a $129 million Center for HIV and AIDS vaccine development that has been completely shut down. Schools in California, Wisconsin, and other states are seeing mass layoffs of scientists, halted trials, and lost momentum on everything from pediatric diseases to cancer therapies. A cancer immunotherapy trial that was ready for clinical implementation is now indefinitely delayed because NIH couldn't guarantee the funding. That delay could cost lives because if it is ready for implementation, that means the participants have already been chosen.
Yeah.
That means those people think that they are going into this study with a hope at a treatment, at a cure for their cancer, at a new chance of life. And it's been ripped away. Yeah. And once you get into one study, I think there's also, it's hard because then they have to scramble to find a different study to shift them into. And it has to be at the right start time.
Mhm.
So it's not just, it's going to cost lives. A federal judge did issue an injunction earlier that did protect about 800 peer review grants, but it was only temporary, and thousands more still remain in limbo. And with the new injunction ruling by the Supreme Court, I don't even know how that's going to.
And it's codified in the bill.
Yeah. So none of this restores those trials, though, that have already been shut down. If the courts, like I said earlier in the podcast, the courts hold the injunction and say you have to restore the research, but they can't get the fund. They can't get the funds in time. They can't rehire the assistants. They can't get the lab space back because they rented it out to somebody else. I mean, they lose all those opportunities. They can't get the participants back to do the data. It all vanishes. It's not just like they can just magically wave a wand and bring it all back. Once they're disrupted, again, like I said, it is often impossible to resume without compromising the integrity of their data. We just won't even know reaches that this is done.
Yeah.
The damage this has caused to America. This systematic dismantling of scientific research in America is targeted and has real world consequences. While most people are busy being distracted by the culture wars, these cuts to these cancer trials and university research centers are happening quietly and under the radar. We need to document and make sure that history is not rewritten because cancer research, HIV studies, mental health, and vaccine science
They literally are life or death.
Literally life or death. So yeah, that was a really big buzzkill. Can we do something happier? Because this shit
we were
is
supposed
depressing.
to talk about like the future stuff, but would you like to put "Am I That Asshole" first?
Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Also depressing.
This is depressing. I know.
Okay, so Anonymous in Alaska writes, "Hi, longtime swing vote, first time writer. I'm a Republican senator from a state that's rural, expensive, and wildly dependent on federal programs like Medicaid and SNAP. I've always branded myself as the moderate, the reasonable one, the one who says no to the worst parts of Trumpism and tries to keep things respectable. So, when my party dropped their new budget, what they lovingly called the Big Beautiful Bill, I had real concerns. It slashed $930 billion for Medicaid, gutted SNAP, rolled back clean energy tax credits, and was basically designed to bulldoze poor people, kids, and working families in favor of billionaire tax breaks and fossil fuel giveaways. I didn't roll over immediately. I held out. I asked for Medicaid carve-outs for Alaska. I fought to preserve clean energy credits. I got some dangerous provisions tossed, like that insane ban on AI regulations. In the push to deregulate silencers, I negotiated for hours with GOP leadership. I was this close to saying no, this close. But then the parliamentarian struck down the Alaska Medicaid exception I fought for. Literally the one thing that would have protected my state from the worst of this, and instead of walking away, I voted yes anyway. It passed 50-50. J.D. Vance broke the tie. If I had joined the 3 Republicans who said no, Collins, Tillis, and even Rand Paul, the bill would have died, but I didn't. I said yes, and now folks back home are livid. One healthcare worker called me a climate fraud and an expensive coat. Another said I folded like a camp chair in a hurricane. I get it. I've made a brand out of being thoughtful, independent, tough on Trump, but when it mattered most, I blinked. So be honest. Am I that asshole for letting this thing pass even after I lost the one deal I said it was non-negotiable?
Dear Anonymous in Alaska, I just want to say, I understand. I've been there. I am there. People love to paint us as moderates because it looks good in headlines, and we landed that. But this time, I actually had to draw a line because you can't say you care about Medicaid while you're holding the pin that guts it. Yes, they tanked my amendment for rural hospitals. Yes, I wish the tax provisions had been handled separately. But at some point, you have to stop being concerned and start being accountable. I'm sorry they didn't give you your carve out, but you still had your vote, and the rest of us had to live with ours. A concerned colleague from the Northeast.
And if you don't know, it was Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins that we were reading for. My goodness. Okay. So I guess, I don't know, with all of this, we have our hopes for the future, how we think these paths are going to keep going. You know, where do we stand, Jen? How are you feeling about all of it?
I mean, I feel really disheartened today. Like, I'm hearing these fireworks outside and it's just hard to celebrate because I just don't feel like this is the America that I want for my kids. This is not the America that I want for myself for the next, 40 plus years if I live that long. This isn't the America that I want. And so it's sad, it's disheartening, but I do feel like there is a tide turning. I don't feel like it's going to shift as fast as you and I want it to, near as fast.
Yeah.
But I do see more people taking notice and recognizing that things can't continue this way, because this is actually unprecedented. Like, before, when people had said that,
Yeah.
the pandemic was, but
then also there was still the Spanish influenza in the 1900s. It was just unprecedented for those who were alive.
For us, yes, because we've never lived through it. But truly, like, this corruption is so much more rampant than anything that Nixon did. I mean, any scandal any president has ever had, if you add them all, like aggregate them all, it pales in comparison to what Trump has done in the first 100 days.
Honestly, I'll take another Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office over what's happening right now, because this is horrible.
I would take blowjobs in the Oval every day of the week over this.
Blowjobbles? I don't know.
Yes.
Blowbles. I'm sorry. I needed something to go on.
But not him, though.
No, not him. I don't want him to have any joy in his life.
It
feels like a funeral going on outside right now with everything happening.
Yeah.
I love my neighborhood. I love my street. I love my neighbors. I live on what would have been considered the wrong side of the train tracks, 20 years ago. Still today, the cops still hate this side of the train tracks. They don't like to come over here
because of the brown people.
Yeah, it's like, it is predominantly Black on my side.
Yeah,
I love them. I love all of them. Like, I love all of my neighbors. They're not all Black, but like, we have a good mix of everybody in our area. And I just know that my neighborhood could drastically change in a moment. Especially with ICE sitting on 148 all the time. Like, I could literally leave my neighborhood and see an ICE agent sitting in a car. And I know that's not what we're talking about today, but it is very scary, knowing how much could change so quickly for where we're at. And the one house that I always worry about is completely empty today. And so I'm like, I really hope you're celebrating. Really hope you're celebrating. It's my DACA family.
Oh yeah. I hope they're celebrating.
They're TPS. Okay. But that doesn't mean much anymore.
It doesn't.
So while I was researching, I got extremely just disheartened, because every time I would click on a link for one of the women from the main NIH page, because they do have it still where they have a lot of women scientists on the page, but they're mixed in with the men, and that's fine. But then when you go to click on them, they're removed.
And
then
that guts me.
Yeah. So we talk about all the time, the health insurance issues. I have a weird situation where we do have free health insurance, which I'm very grateful for, but it doesn't cover well or vaccines. which is very expensive because when you go to a normal pediatrician, you go to the hospital, you go to anything else, they will charge you the insurance rate and expect you to pay the insurance rate because you do have insurance for sick. And so they won't do like the discounted care. So, we're told, okay, well, go to Texas HHS. Like, there are a couple offices around. You have people that will give you cash prices for it. But then Dylan makes more than what the allotment is for like the sliding scale pay. We have to pay the full price for it, which is fine. But it's way cheaper than us paying like $3,000 for vaccines for 2 years for both kids. Plus the well visits like $300 a pop. So we can go to one where it's like $60 for the visit and, the vaccines are, $20. We're looking into this and I go to the federal website to look for Texas's clinics. You want to know what's not on there? Vaccine clinics. Removed.
What?
Error 404.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I can't find vaccine clinics and I can't get affordable ones. I mean, like one vaccine is almost $300 now with insurance rates. I'm trying to find a place where I can go get my kids where I'm not paying like a couple grand for both of them to be taken care of between well visits and care checks. If anything ever happens, the fact that they don't have well checks doesn't look good for parents. So just the way that HHS is going, I am terrified. I mean, thankfully, the school websites at this time still have the vaccine schedules that you need to continue like to go to school there so I can see what my child needs, but it's been removed for like the Texas side of it. It's not on the Texas site and it's not on the federal site for HHS.
It's just crazy to me.
We're in a position that we're very thankful for, but we are just past like the side of being able to get help with stuff. And all of our stuff is like triple what it is if we would be able to get help. And so like we're just still paycheck to paycheck for the most part. Like we finally have a savings that we're building up now. But for like the longest time, we were literally just paycheck to paycheck because everything was like full cost, like $2,000 for childcare, couple grand for well checks and vaccines and me needing to be taken care of. Like I have to go to a women's clinic that doesn't even like specialize in women and it's 1-star clinics, so it's not even like I can go find an OBGYN that'll take it because they're still going to charge us.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so like I'm struggling with that, thankfully, but not thankfully, but like not even fortunately, because I have endometriosis. I can have well visits covered within like an actual clinic. And I have a cyst that needs to be checked. So I can always use that. So that way it's a sick visit instead of a well visit. But for me, hearing all of this, I'm sitting here and I'm like, everything's been erased already. And it's bad. Like they've erased entire biographies. They've erased where you can get vaccines. They've erased schedules off of the federal website.
I will spiral and I will get really stressed out with my crystal ball if I go too far in the future. But in the immediate future, I think we're going to be okay as long as we just continue to spread information, make sure that people know that this man, and that's the problem, is that because people don't fact check, they believe things they hear. So when you hear us like something out loud 2 or 3 times publicly, you believe it's true. Yeah. So when he spreads these lies and this misinformation multiple times, and then Trump's tweeting it on his truth socials, and then whoever, like they're just continuously spouting these same like rhetoric that they have, these certain things, right? These buzzword phrases they use. I saw a whole thing how basically Trump wants us to have word association with the word, not even illegal, the word immigrant, as like with a negative association.
It already is.
He commonly, even last presidency, would conflate illegal immigrant with, which I don't even like. I like calling. I mean, I don't like calling. I don't like anybody either. Being illegal. Yeah, illegal is rude. It's horrible. But illegal immigrant versus illegal, right? Someone with legal status, right? Or just an immigrant, someone who. So, but he would say things like immigrants are murderers and they're rapists, and he's saying this, but he means illegal immigrants, which that's not even true either. But he's spreading this, he's basically putting this word association. So now dumb Americans believe all of this dumb misinformation.
They've literally convinced almost 70 million people that every immigrant is a criminal. Every single one of them. Not that it's a civil issue, not that it's a paperwork issue, not that they're going to court, they're trying to get everything rectified, not that they have protected status, not that they're filing for asylum, not that they're here in like a legal amount of time, nothing. Just you're immediately a criminal if you do not have citizenship, even though you cannot gain citizenship for years until after you've lived here. It takes this much time to get through this much time to get to this much time to get to this. And in order to get this, you still need to prove that you're a part of society, that you own a house. But most people want you to have a residence and have a job that you've worked for multiple years before you can even get a green card. We don't have good pathways to citizenship. You're sitting
People
here
don't
condemning
understand.
people
Yeah.
that are
And,
here
and
legally.
you have to have a sponsor and thousands
Yes.
and thousands of dollars. I mean, it's just not an
It's
easy
expensive.
process.
No.
Yeah, not an easy process, especially for people who are working below a livable wage for most of them and sending money back home, a lot of them too. So there needs to be reforms, obviously. I don't know anyone who says the system is perfect. Like nobody thinks that. But I know we're getting off on a tangent on Trump and the ICE and
I mean, it's not really a tangent because we're
it's
seeing
hard
where
because
it's going.
everything is bleeding into everything now. I know we're doing on this topic was about NIH and the cuts and stuff. So I will say my crystal ball prediction on this, I want to get back into.
Yeah.
It's not good. I've been watching I'm in this Paying for College 101 group for the last year and a half because of McKenna being, a senior last year. And I've been watching the rhetoric in these groups. I can tell people who still support Trump, the information that they're getting fed, we are living two entirely different worlds. Until we are able to blend and cross the barrier and break through to whatever information they are consuming to help get them the facts and the truth, I don't see any kind of optimistic future. Yeah. And a lot of scientists, international scientists are leaving. A lot of scientists that are smart here, that are Ivy League considerations, are also a lot of students that are really, really good are looking into international studies now. So like good, smart American students are looking into studying internationally and taking their brain power elsewhere.
UT Southwestern is a big one for us. That's a big medical research facility. And UT Austin is a massive one. And then you have the Cleveland Clinic and you have all of these places that are incredible to work for. They draw in a ton of international scientists, a ton of them. And they're all here on visas and they get, probably Einstein visas. And then you have all of these kids that are extremely smart too coming in for George Washington University. You have them coming in for Johns Hopkins. You have them coming in just for these schools that are in DC, Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, all focused on science and creating a better life for everybody in the world, not just the US, because we're one of the top places for studying and for scientists and for research. And we have this well-established base. And that's all about to be just demolished.
I know. It makes me sick. It makes me feel physically ill because
it's already beyond repair. Because when you get people that are going to fund us to hire more administrators, to hire more scientists, and to hire all of these people, you have to train them. They have to go through background checks. They have to go through everything else. Like they have destroyed the foundation of the NIH.
Well, they're trying to push people out of higher education in general. So that's part of the big push is they don't want people in higher education. They don't want us healthy.
They don't want us educated.
Yeah. They want people getting jobs, making less money, doing or joining the military or getting deputized as an ICE agent.
The technical degrees are so important as well. So I'm not disparaging them.
No, yeah. Both. I mean, both are important.
I mean, my husband has a technical degree. He still got his associates, but he had to go through job training and everything first in order to dispatch. You don't need to go to any school for it. He did go to school and he did get an associate's, but his job is one of those that you train for a month in a classroom. Then you go work for a smaller airline. You just build your way up to be able to work a bigger one. But I don't understand funding the public education. Like it's so Abigail Adams to me. Constant. where
I
it's that
know.
classist. If you educate everybody, it's going to be mob.
Oh,
It
I
just makes it
agree.
better for everybody to have that. I mean, yes, we still need like other technical jobs too. Like, don't get me wrong, but like you do need people that want to seek education to better your society, and you're going to have less
I mean,
crime.
girl, we need scientists just the same as we need plumbers and landscapers.
Mhm.
And my friend that's a landscaper full time, they live in a nice house down the road on an acre lot. Like no job is better than another job, but like the landscaper isn't going to find a cure for cancer. But I guarantee if you took the scientist and tried to make him landscape, right? I mean, every job is curated for that
You need
person.
it. I
So
mean,
there is a
honestly,
scientist
like
who needs to study science, and there's people who need to do jobs with their hands, and neither of those are wrong.
I will tell you that a janitor is much more useful in their job than a board member.
Oh, bro, the janitors at our schools are always my best friends. Like I have their phone
I
numbers in
know.
my cell phone
I do
because
love janitors.
they always have all the keys to all the places.
I know. You're like, hey.
Like you need
I
to get
just
in this
remember
closet.
we
Oh, I
loved our
got a key.
janitors. We loved our
Yeah.
janitors in school. And you need something, like, hey, what's up? What you need? They'll let you out
No,
of the
there's
school and get whatever
so
you need.
at the school, the one janitor, I mean, we're not at the school anymore because Harper moved on, but I have her personal cell and she's like, I live 2 minutes away. If you need something, just text me and I can come up there.
That's
Like
really
she
sweet.
literally offered when she's not even at school. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're
still
so
way
nice.
more useful than a board member.
So
Yeah.
amazing. I know. Yeah.
All right. So follow us on Instagram, Moms Against the Machine Pod. You can find us on Facebook. We haven't been very active in the past couple of weeks because we've been working on reframing and trying to get our lives back together. What are we on TikTok? Moms and Machines. It's Moms and Machines.
Yeah.
If you're watching our live, thank you. We're getting that information out to literally anybody that's willing to listen, to know that you are not alone. We're all in this together. We're going to keep fighting together. And
Building a community.
we're building
If
a
you
community.
agree
Yes.
with us, follow us. Like we would love to
Even
connect
if
with
you
you.
don't agree with us on everything
Yeah.
that we say, we still love to have people around. If our information isn't correct, like feel free to correct us. Like that is absolutely okay. I do want to talk about how we're going to set this up in the future. So we're going to do one informational one like this at the beginning of the month. We're going to do a small segment the second week, just for news updates on our previous segments, anything that we've seen, just because the stuff that we were talking about has drastically changed since we've talked about it, because everything is moving so fast with these cycles.
2 pages of information
Yeah.
happened in the one day from when I checked.
Yes.
2 pages.
Yeah.
So it's rapidly.
So we're
updating.
gonna do a small update then, and then we're gonna do a third week where we're gonna try to interview somebody either close to us in the community or somebody that we know is related to this. I'm gonna drag my aunt into this because she worked for the NIH for a very long time. Yeah. And then the fourth week of the month, we're going to do a longer update where we can chat, find the news articles that's going on, just like literally talk about life and, figure out what's happening, and try to piece our thoughts together, because
And possibly get more personal. I don't know. We don't know what we're going to do with that week
We'll
yet.
see.
It's going to be a random hodgepodge.
Oh yeah, our week 5, we're gonna, like, if you have 5 Mondays in a month, we're gonna bring out a special for September. I think we're gonna cover our childhood trauma with 9/11, because that was a rough one.
It was a doozy.
But we'll do something short and quick on those. But we're gonna have one at least 1 to 2 long episodes a month. But everything else is gonna be pretty short. Week 2 with our short news week, it is probably just gonna be me or just Jen.
Probably just like 10 minutes, a quick just
Like, hey,
news
we're still
update.
here. What's up?
Mhm.
This is what's happened. But we just want to go back. The first 1 or 2 might be a little bit longer just because we have a lot to cover. But after that, I think that it'll be a little bit shorter.
If you have any topics of stuff you want us to cover, message us.
Yeah.
If you
send
have
us
any
news
ideas
articles.
for segments, let us know because we love fun. We love to laugh. 'Cause
Yes.
that's like one of the few things that we can do and enjoy these days is find little ways to get amusement.
Okay. Jen, let's end this on a fun one. You
Okay.
ready?
Mhm.
FMK. Fornicating.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Give me a number 1 through 4. Or do you want me to do a Google spin?
Hold on. I'll do number 3.
Okay. Are you sure?
Do I not want to do number 3? Okay, number 2. Number one.
Do any of them. Okay, number one.
Okay, I don't want to do any of them.
Right. George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, or Thomas Jefferson? Like, what are we doing?
Okay. Think I would fornicate with Alexander Hamilton.
The Tomcat.
Well, I was gonna say, because he's already like, whatever.
Mhm.
I would
That's
think I
easy
would
one. Come on,
kill
Jen.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
And I was
Yeah.
going to say, well, because here's the thing. I know that General George Washington was great, but
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with some President George Washington stuff. So we'll just say I would still just I'll kill Jefferson because he was
We
worse
should
than
kill all of
than
them. They're already dead.
they are already dead. But I don't want to have sex with a corpse, by the way. I don't want to fornicate with a corpse
These are the
either,
live
so,
ones.
yeah.
But George Washington and Thomas Jefferson for sure. I think I'd probably marry Alexander Hamilton though, because he was the abolitionist of the crew. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson both enslaved people, and Thomas Jefferson had a lot of mixed kids that were not his. So, yeah,
they're all bad. That's why I told you.
They are all bad.
I don't want to FMK with anybody that's on that side. Like I don't want to get us banned because I don't want to say I want to K all of them.
Okay, bye.